Welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Gauthier the ET Whisperer. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any ideas or opinions expressed by myself, the guest, or a caller may not necessarily reflect the same opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Enlightenment defined. It's the state of giving and receiving greater knowledge and understanding about a certain subject or situation. Evolution defined. The gradual development of something, especially from a simple to a more complex form. So what then is Enlightenment Evolution? The state of giving and receiving greater knowledge as we develop from a simple to a more complex human being, living on Earth for our soul's experience. Welcome now and join us as we explore our Enlightenment Evolution Hour together. Hey everybody, welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer, and this is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. We are simulcasting, as always, onto the Matrix Minds. Hello, Brainiacs. How are you guys doing out there? And welcome to all my people from the YouTube, ET Whisperer, and from the other Facebook page, which is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for showing up. First things first, we have an amazing guest, Derrick Rose, who's going to be here with us just in a few minutes. But before you guys know how it works, we got to do announcements. I want to start off with a Matrix Minds announcement. There's no show tonight, but 10 o'clock Eastern, that's 7 Pacific, Friday, Ryder Lee from Raised by Giants will be on the show talking about the SSP program. And all of its craziness that's going on there. And they're going to be talking about that. So make sure everybody from the Matrix Minds is there Friday. Matthew will announce it. Matthew will get everything around for that and be sharing that. So keep your eyes peeled for that. As for the network news, we just had Sarah Rose on last week, and she is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network on her show, The Mothership, with SPG and Lo-Fi Monk, and she was on last week. It was a great show. And we also have next month returning, we're going to have the one and only Valiant himself with his show for Out There Talk with Valiant himself. So that'll be an amazing thing. As for this show next week, we're going to have an amazing person who I will be sharing a little bit more about later on in the show, in our mid-break announcements and at the end. And also, we have a couple people who are going to be coming on. We're just getting the dates straightened out as they are. And Kalina says hello. She sends all of her love to all of you guys. She's been working on a new video, and she barely got any sleep last night, so she's not really going to be in much today with moderation and hanging out with us, but she does send her love. ET Whisper, we're on the last week of our Learn to Channel course, which is an amazing course, which has been really exciting and really fun. But we're on the last week of that. You can still join. There's still time to do Q&A before Saturday. So if you want to join and catch up to where we're at right now with the techniques and the Q&A channelings that we've done, it might be really amazing. And if that's something that excites you, by all means, we can do that too. And I'm going to need 1 second, guys. We've been having a little internet in and out. So if something happens and one of us pops in or out, that's what's going on. And it won't be too big of a deal. We'll keep rocking and rolling and making it work. But I just wanted to make you guys a little bit aware of that, just so that you guys know. I want to introduce our guest tonight. Our guest, Derrick Rose, amazing guy. I met him on Facebook, and me and him have gone back and forth for a couple of years now, chatting through Facebook. I know I just said a couple years and it made me flinch because I really didn't realize it had been that long already. But getting to know him, he's an amazing dude with a lot of great insights. He is a student of our community as well as a teacher. He helped a lot of people learn the law of attraction and the law of vibration, and a lot of great teachings that he has learned throughout different various parts of the community. Uh, when Derrick were to share his own perspectives, he says, "Hello, my name's Derrick Rose. I'm 31-year-old human just trying to shift through all of this like everyone else. I like to hang out with my friends, work out, listen to music, spiritual literature, and I try to meditate at least once a day for 5 minutes. My main goals are to continue learning and trying to expand my spiritual gifts that I have, as well as discovering what they are, and maybe one day find a teacher. Until then," he says, "I am trying my best to identify my limiting beliefs, attempt to overcome them, while still trying to figure out exactly how the law of vibration and deliberate manifestation work." Derrick has a couple links we'll have down in the description, but like every guest, why am I telling you about them? I think it's just easier to bring Derrick in and have him say who he is, and bring him on in. So welcome, Derrick. Thank you for coming tonight, brother. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Rob, my pleasure, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited too, and we start to show off a little bit the same every time. And what that looks like is, instead of asking you what your whole journey is, or what your goal is in life, or what this is or what that is, tell us a little bit about the things you went through your childhood, the things you went through as a young adult that kind of opened you up to have excitement to learn these things and to be in this community and to be a part of it.
Let me think. Well, I grew up in Baltimore, Baltimore, Maryland, and my childhood was a little rough. I had a very loving family. I had an older brother, parents that loved me. I was little on the overweight side, and being in the inner cities, going to school there is a little rough. So I got made fun of a lot, got beat up, attacked. Didn't really have any friends for about the 12 years, the tenure that I lived down there. And then I ended up moving out to the suburbs, and that's where I started making friends. But I guess being isolated like that kind of made me be more introspective and start thinking and inwardly, because I really didn't have anybody outwardly to talk to. And I would just be thinking, like, why are things different for other people? Why do they have friends? Why they can do stuff? So I was really introspective, younger, ended up reading a lot, and it really kind of made me think about like the laws of the universe and how just how things worked. As I got older, I think around right after I got out of college, around 20 years old, I ended up coming across a business, like a multi-level marketing business called Vima, and we would sell like energy drinks, healthy energy drinks to the youth, and we were using social media, and the technology to spread that. But behind the scenes of that company, they were teaching me business, business literature, but as well as spirituality. And that's where they introduced me to The Secret, introduced me to Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, and that's where I learned the law of attraction and the law of vibration. And the moment that I read The Secret and then I watched the movie The Secret, the concepts just they spoke to me. They really resonated with me because I'm like, wow, like I didn't really know about these concepts. I didn't even have a name for these concepts, but I knew that they worked because I used them in my life many, many times just unknowingly. And so, really, just that background of just introspecting and just thinking a lot, looking at my environment a lot, and then being put on to the law of attraction, I just kind of put it all together. And it really inspired me to just spread positivity. Once I learned about higher vibrations and positivity just from my childhood, I just want to try to spread more positivity to as many people as I can, really, and really try to teach these concepts because it's kind of like, if you found like the secret or $1 million or something, you would want to tell people. And if you found a product that you really like, you would want to tell your best friends and tell people. And I really believe that with deliberate manifestation, learning law of attraction, learning these principles, we can shape the life that we want. So why would I not want to teach everybody that to really shape and have the life and create the life that they want and attract the life that they want and all the things that they want with it?
Well, that's one thing I find beautiful about you is your desire to share and your desire to go through and discern and connect with all the dots internally and everything. You know, Baltimore, that's a pretty rough town. So I imagine you had to deal when you were dealing with harassment, bullying, things like that, and getting beat up. That was probably there. I know it's not. I know it's probably worse from violence now than it used to be. But I'm sure that, at least that I've heard, it's always been a rough place to be at. When you moved out to the suburbs, do you think, because this is one thing that's not just in our community that people argue about or talk about or discuss, how do we create social equality throughout a country, dependent on what your skin color is, depending on what your money looks like, depending on all of these different things. And then one argument says, hey, America is free. You can do anything and everything you want as long as you put in the effort to do it. And another side says, well, people who are born in certain neighborhoods, people who are born in certain ethnicities, they have a lot more to work against. Um, Now, obviously, with the law of attraction, it would say that the first is more likely in a general sense. But what was that like living in a place that had poverty and violence? And Baltimore itself is really known for having a lot of issues with gang violence for a long time, since the 90s at least. What was that like living there and then moving away from there and like seeing the environment difference in that and how that fits in with your feelings about law of attraction?
Yeah, man, that's actually a great question. To go back a little bit, I actually to the first question, I actually believe both are true. More so the former, like you said, obviously believing in the law of attraction, there's opportunities abound. But I do believe at the same time that certain ethnicities and people's environment, they're behind the eight ball, at a disadvantage more than other people. But I will say, for me, no, it was tough. It was hard dealing with it growing up. At the same time, I don't want to say that I was um kind of numb to it a little bit because I just kind of thought it was natural and normal. I'm, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I moved away when I was 12. So I kind of just, it's the lifestyle. I didn't know anything else. Yeah, it sucked. I did see people have more friends, but I just kind of felt that they deserved it. Like I kind of internalized it being young and in your formative years and you're trying to make sense of everything. I just said, all right, well, I guess, these people deserve friends. These people deserve to be popular and I don't for whatever reason. So I guess it developed a little bit of self-hate. But when I moved away to the suburbs, nicer area, nicer environment, people were nicer, and it kind of got my self-esteem up. Especially I started doing sports, boxing, swimming, running track, wrestling, and so I started losing weight, started growth spurt. So all that kind of worked in my favor. Um, but moving out, but yeah, it really did show me though about resources. Coming back from Baltimore, I remember we would have to share textbooks because there wasn't enough textbooks for everybody. They didn't even have air conditioning. They would teach us how to make paper, fans to fan ourselves in the heat of the summer.
Mm.
So, like, moving out to the suburbs, it was more, more resources, honestly, for the schools.
Yeah, and this has been my experience. Obviously, I grew up as a poor person in a rich neighborhood, so it's different than growing up in a whole neighborhood that's got poverty and violence, things like that. Um, so I can see the difference. But when I moved with my friend, whose wife was on here last night, when he moved into a town that had these things, actual whole neighborhoods with poverty and violence and gangs and drugs, and I spent a lot of time there and made a lot of friends. I did see a drastic difference in the way policing was done with people who were Black and Hispanic versus white. And I did see even all the people who were hanging out in the same neighborhoods. They're all poor, they just have different skin color. They're all, either not doing drugs or doing drugs, depending on which group they hung out in. But even the people who were into drugs and gangs, um, knowingly, the police would know that these kids are in gangs, still leaned more heavily on the Black and Hispanic kids than they did the white kids. So I agree that that whole thing is there. Why do you think that is a balance? Why do you think that shows up in our collective that way? Knowing that the law of attraction works, knowing that if we put our minds to something, we put our excitement into it, we develop it. Why does this inequality still show up? Do you think it's more a manifestation of how we don't treat each other equally or well?
Wow, that's another good question. I really have to think about that one, Rob. There's a couple ways I could kind of go with that. I think I really don't know why it kind of shows up in our consciousness. That's like a broader question, and it's a good one. I guess personally, I think is it's like systematic. I guess if you want to go back years and years and talked about racism, whether it was like in slavery, you had systematically they tried to keep the slaves separate, didn't want them congregating, like no more than eight could be together. Tried to, obviously separate the light skin from the dark skin from the house. So that's a bunch of separation there. And then once that was over, it was the Jim Crow laws that kind of, systematically separated. So I think when you have a group of people that have been disenfranchised like that, they can only know what their environment is. So when the law of attraction it is working, but we all know the law of attraction works whether you're thinking positively or thinking negatively. And if your environment and all you see is negativity and around because it was systematically grouped that way and designed that way, I think that the people, one, being ignorant of the laws of attraction and the laws of the universe, don't really know that their thoughts and their emotions matter. So they're just reacting to their environment, very reactive.
Yeah, to be impossible not to when you're put into a situation where everything is rough and you have to fight for everything and things are tough and people are leaning on you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I see. I look a lot at these types of things that happen in our collective that are imbalanced, and I try to see why it's imbalanced. What I've noticed is something that actually Treb and Aridif had said a long time ago. Um, a lady who was Black had asked one of them about why they saw so many white people in the industry of channeling professionally and not a lot of Black people in the industry. And this was a long time ago. So this was before even um, a lot of I think there was one or two people on YouTube that were Black or channeling. Why is that? And they said, well, of course, the collective imbalances, the energies there. But they said with the root chakra of the energies in Earth being in one area and another, that people who started in these areas of the Earth have different specialties. And that's something he said that Trump said is that's why people who are like South American are really amazing shamans, and people who were in the heart of Africa were amazing medicine people and shamans, and the people who were in the area of Australia with the indigenous Aborigine were amazing shamans. And then the people who came from Europe, they were more, uh, they worked more with like a magical type of thing. Instead of working with the earth, they would try to work with the ether. And that's how they were taught. So it was a developmental thing that was different because the areas where they were originating from on Earth were the areas that were stronger in different areas, and it made sense to me at the time. And this led me to believe that a lot of people who understand how the energies work, a lot of people are afraid to see community of people who are Black and Hispanic understand their spirituality too, because they're so earth connected and so well linked energetically there from their ancestral roots, that if a group of people in anywhere in the US, anything, it would end up creating this gigantic wave of spiritual explosion, and then nobody would control anything. Nobody would try to manipulate or suppress or hold down. So there's a lot of things that I think people who hold power are afraid of, and they're afraid of people who aren't them. They're afraid of people who come from all parts of the world that they consider, powerful in earth energy. And I think they're afraid of people having conscious thoughts to themselves. So I think maybe not knowing at that point during the time of slavery, it was just a really shitty thing that people did to each other. And because of the skin color differences, it does. But I think more recently, the suppression of the energy of a lot of different groups of people are being done for a lot of different reasons. And I don't know if that's insane or not, but it made sense to me when I thought about it a couple years ago when Trevor Aridif had said that about how the energies work different with the ancestral roots of people.
Yeah, man, I never really thought about that. Are you talking like energies like the chakras of the planet?
Right, right.
Right.
Like let's say you go to Michigan, right? And Michigan holds a lot of third chakra energy and first chakra energy. And you go to southern Indiana, and that holds a lot of first and second chakra energy. And you go to Kentucky, and that holds some third and like fifth chakra energy. So all of these very specific areas are holding different vibrational frequencies. So the groups of the people who have ancestral links to there, like in Michigan, the Potawatomi tribe, would exist, while further down south you would have had Apache or Comanche. So all of these different pockets where humans kind of sat for thousands of years and developed their ancestral lineage are linked to different ways of energy to connect their consciousness to the highest aspects of their consciousness. Um, like the people who grew up in the Caucasus Mountains during the time of the exodus of the African region up to the Caucasus Mountains, that has a lot of third eye energy and crown chakra energy. So a lot of the people there that developed into like the Buddhist monks further down, and that's why they do the oming and the monasteries and all of it. And like I said, there's something that Treb Bor Yit-Ne said that I literally made a whole brain map about, and trying to think of like who comes from this area, what are they known for spirituality, what are they good at with spirituality, and really tried to figure it out. And a lot of it made sense.
Yeah, well, yeah, when you explain it that way, it makes perfect sense. I don't know too much about the chakras, um, but I do know like everyone talks about Sedona being a big energy center. I definitely know that one, and Arizona being another one. But I didn't know that like the energy centers of the other areas. But it makes sense that I mean a lot of people go to Sedona because they say the energy, they can feel the energy ramping up, they can feel the energy heightened, and they can do more with the energy around. So there's no doubt in my mind that the other chakra centers, where people lived and ancestrally, would have some type of lineage there and probably have stronger abilities to where they come from. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just something that kind of made sense to me, and I haven't ever talked about it really. I don't think publicly, or maybe I mentioned it in jest or in passing on Patreon once or twice, but I don't think I really talked about it too deep. But it made a lot of sense, and a lot of energy in the way how that kind of works, because there's lines everywhere. It's not really chakra energies; it's more comparable to that. So like a grid system that goes around Earth, and it has like these heavy lines that are main lines that carry energy from person to person and consciousness and animals and all of that. And then there's these secondary lines, and then it gets smaller and smaller, but there's still always a predominant energy in one area. Like Michigan surrounded by water, so there's a lot of vortex there for third and fifth chakra. But when you go on land, it kind of locks that third chakra energy in to a lot of land area at least. whole topic. Sorry, I went way out field with all that.
Nah, man, you're teaching me, man. I'm just learning.
Well, what's the what's been your most exciting part since you've had that experience and since this company brought you in and kind of connected you to all this information? What did you do with it since then? Um, I know you said you like teaching your friends. You know, you were telling your friends about, like, why wouldn't you tell them about this awesome thing that you found? How did that work when you were sharing it with friends or with people who were working under you? Can you share maybe a little bit about that, your experience with that?
Absolutely. I will say that in the very, very beginning, I was super excited and I just was it was just such new information and I was just like, how do people not know this? And I guess I just would talk to everybody. I would tell people at work, I would tell people all the time. And some people were receptive, a lot of people weren't because I also wasn't explaining it correctly. It definitely sounds woo-woo when you explain it. Some people were like, "Yeah, that makes sense," but and then they try to throw the scientific spin on it. Like, well, of course, if you're, thinking positively, you're more inclined to do positive, or if you write things down, your goals, that type of stuff. As I started to learn more about it and learn the nuances of it, I actually thought it was very basic in the beginning. I was like, "Oh, well, if I just do this, it's everybody has heard the criticisms of The Secret that it just leaves the key component out, the law of vibration for the most part. So yeah, I thought it was simple, and then I just tried to put it into practice. And yeah, I had success with it through the company. I had great success. And then I learned the law of vibration and I learned the nuances. I remember at the time I went hard at just being so positive, and I think I had like a like a nervous breakdown. I want to say about like 7 months in it. Like I was so um, focused on these teachings. I just at the time I naively thought that any negative emotions I had, I'd be creating a negative future for myself or attracting negative things to me. So whenever I would have negative emotion, I would stifle them really really quickly, and it eventually like got bad for me. But I realized that I just couldn't just tell people because it's like being somebody who's religious and just preaching the Bible or like a Jehovah's Witness walking and just knocking on people's doors like uninvited. People don't really want that if it's not invited information. I started to learn that with the vibe I was getting back with people. So I just decided to live it. But what I was doing was I started implementing it into my business. It was my way of life, but I really thought that it was a way everybody could be successful. So as I started bringing people into the business and I started getting higher up into the business, people wanted to work with me so I could move them along. And I would say like, hey, I'm down to work with you and teach you the principles of this business, but I want you to watch this movie, The Secret, because I'm telling you, this is the key to any business. And if we work this, it'll be fine. And people will watch it and they immediately get excited. That was the way that I realized that like I could I don't think there was one person who was not receptive that I sent them the secret. And I think at the height of my organization, it was about 1,300 people. I'm not saying I work
Holy
with that.
moly!
I'm not saying I work with 1,300 people, and we were in many different, not all 50 states. I would say probably 30 out of 50, but also broke into South Africa and the UK. So it wasn't a ginormous organization. I would say I work with probably like 600 of them, 700 of them.
That's still
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and so I don't think anybody was not receptive. And I would try to work with them in groups as well and work through groups. But I would have them do that first as an introduction, and then I would just introduce the law of attraction to them in a way that was palatable for them, that they could. I would just things like, hey, everybody has a vibration, everything has a vibration, and your emotions, I would tell them, or how your emotional guidance system, how you know where you are on that spectrum, if it feels good, excitement, love, gratitude, all that great stuff, anger, despair, depression, all feels bad. That's how you know what you are. But and I talked about energies, and there's many different energies going all around in the world, like wind. Wind is a vibration and has an energy to it. We can't see it because we can only see ultra red to ultraviolet light, and so like our eyes can't pick up that vibration, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I would explain that there's many energies and many different vibrations going around, that we just can't pick up with our physical senses, but doesn't mean that they don't exist. But we can still work with them. And usually, people are receptive to that. And you just start them baby steps, baby steps. I don't throw the crazy, like ET heavy stuff at them. But I would just
You can't
basically
start
introduce it.
there.
No, you really can't. You'll lose people. But I mean, you just start with them something easy, and I would tell them if we think positive and we all get on the same wavelength, then we're gonna get to this goal, which was the business, and then use that business as a vehicle to whatever their dreams were, whatever they wanted to go. But yeah, that's what I would do it. And I think because people wanted to work with me in the business, I was successful at that point. I think they were just more receptive to that information. What I would tell people, what I learned from my mentor who taught me all of this information, he said, do what I do, say what I say, and get what I get. And I think that same formula moved for the people below me. They were like, well, how are you so successful? Like, what are you doing to be successful? And I would tell them straight up, it's the law of attraction, law of vibration. You can do it too. And I think that just made them a lot more receptive.
Oh, leading by example. You gave the clue by the way you shared it. Leading by example. When you do something, it's proven to itself by the way you're producing, by the way you're connecting with people, by the way you're fulfilling your obligations, by the way you're exceeding your hopes and expectation and everybody else's yeah, absolutely. This is something, it's actually something Treb has said a long time ago. When someone's like, how do I get my family to understand the spiritual stuff, because they need it, they need it in their life. Their life is, shit. They're negative thinkers, blah, blah, blah. And he said, you don't, why do you want to step on the toes? The soul will look at it like you stepping on the toes of their soul. You're infringing on their free will if you're trying to push it to them, if you're trying to force them to understand something. But if you show them through who you are and you change enough of yourself, they'll say, wow, that dude made some amazing changes. How do you get there? So, dude, I think that's the greatest way to teach people. What was your best result with sharing this with people? What kind of good things did you see that came from other people, from you sharing and them implementing, that you were able to personally be a part of?
Oh, I'm trying to think of specific things. I would say I still have people who contact me now. I have a friend, TJ, who started a whole organization that he's using, and teaching the same principles to the people that he's working with. It's like multiple businesses that come together and help each other out. But he teaches them these principles. Have even got me on to talk to his whole group a couple times, really, and he always credits me as the person who changed his life. There's a couple people who say once they learn this information, they implement it. I don't really have any specific examples I can say. I would say, um, I mean, in the business, we were having immense success. I would say with money and materialistic things, but we were very materialistic at the time. I would say we were young, 21 years old, so we were about the money and the cars and stuff. So that all came with it. I would say.
Yeah. Well, I think
Abs-
the best example too is like you said, the dude started a company, and that connected companies that did the same thing. I mean, if that's not a proof of concept, nothing is, right?
Yeah, yeah, he calls it Midas Touch. It's an incredible concept, and I love it. It's like a fraternity of businesses, and they meet and they set their goals out. And a lot of the concepts that I was teaching him about goal setting, because me and him would always meet and meet with the groups and stuff, and a mastermind basically. And yeah, so I just try to definitely, like you said, live by example. That's another thing that I learned is you can't preach to people, because especially when you preach this type of stuff, they're going to be like, well, where's your success? What are you doing? And it's kind of more once I started living it and stopped preaching it. And I honestly believe a part of me was preaching it in the beginning to convince myself. Like I knew it was real at that point, but the more I talked about it, because I was excited, it was still new. But the implementation of it was a little more nuanced than I thought, but I was determined to figure it out. And at the time, I thought that especially when I learned the law of vibration, I thought that if it was one frequency, that could manifest everything. And I was like, if I could just get to this frequency, that is the frequency of creation. But I understand that there's more nuance with my limiting beliefs and other stuff that you have to release for things to come to you. Um, but yeah, leading by example is definitely the best way to get people. When people see, it was weird. Like I started getting a reputation for being like the positive guy. Like from like I would so like when I got out of that business, I actually moved into the restaurant business and I was like a bar back. And I just had this reputation for being the positive guy, the guy like that. Like I would always tell people like, hey guys, we're gonna make money, we're gonna be busy today when everybody was like all pessimistic and like, oh, draining and nobody's gonna come in. And I'm like, nah, we're gonna make some money today. Like I was always the positive guy talking about not specifically telling people about the law of attraction, but talking in that direction. And I like being known for that. But it was all about leading by example that I got that reputation.
See, that's amazing. I honestly and truly love that. By showing people who you are, it helps them understand if they want to get into what you're getting into. You know, it's like if the guy who's the grumpiest, worst, reactive person in the world, and they're like, "I tell you how to be happy," you're gonna be like, "No way." I'm not even coming close to this guy, but you were living it, man, and smiling. That's amazing.
I also
Um,
like what you said about Trevor about not forcing it on anybody because from the soul perspective, you could be treading on their growth and what they're here to learn. And I didn't even think about it like that. That's an amazing way perspective to think about stuff because not everybody wants what you want, and not everybody's journey is your journey. And sometimes, you're thinking you're doing somebody good because you're like, hey, I got this easier way. But from a soul's perspective, they're like, stop it, man. You're stopping the growth that this guy needs to get through.
well, sometimes you need the hard way, and that sucks, but some people need it. I know I'm a hard learner. If I don't learn a lesson in the most difficult way, sometimes it doesn't get learned. It is really hard to kind of discern the difference between what's helpful and what's not, and I think it's different balance for different people. But getting to know how to help a person on an individual scale is always going to be impossible unless you know yourself. And this is something that I really enjoy when I communicate with you and we connect is your perspective about yourself, and what you do and how you do it is actually uh, pretty right on the money and pretty self-aware about a lot of things. And I know we're all human. I know we have faults. I know sometimes we're hard on ourselves, or we might lack confidence in certain things, whatever the case is with all humans. uh, that's the case. But for you, you really look at something and you ask yourself, what am I doing here? How am I doing it? And why should it be done this way? Oh, well, that's why, I was doing this wrong or I was doing this right. And that's it's something that not, not everybody is great at. And you're really great at that too. And I really like that about you too. I try to hope that that's myself too in a lot of ways, but it's very exciting to see.
Dude, I really appreciate you saying that, Rob, honestly. Because I can't say that I'm like that 24/7. I'm glad that you've seen that side of me. I'm very unconscious. And actually what I'm actually well, not working on, but currently learning right now is actually being in the present moment. Eckhart Tolle does a lot, the power now. And I have a lot of anxiety. I actually like live with anxiety. Like I wake up and the first 5 minutes of my day are the worst, actually. With all the stuff just coming into my consciousness about what I have to do, about all the stuff I messed up the day before. The anxiety is crazy. But I just was listening to something today and actually from Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he was talking about when you're living anxiety constantly like that is because you're either thinking about the familiar past or the predictable future, but you're not in the present moment. Because most times in the very present moment, what you're looking at right in front of you is not your problems. Your problems are not right in front of you. Your problems are the foreseen problems that you're going to have to encounter in the future, or your past mistakes that are over that aren't even, relevant most of the time. And I realize a lot of the things that I worry about don't even come to fruition at all, and it's just wasted energy.
That's a huge thing. A lot of people do that. They see the worst possible scenario, and when I hear someone say something that's just so unlikely, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's very unlikely to happen. And the funny thing you said, and I never thought about it this way, yeah, I've perceived the fact that in the past and in the future is where those problems and perspectives come from when you're outside of the now moment. But in in the moment, if you're going through something horrific or something tough or something hard, you're not going to be thinking about how hard it is or what the implications of that thing is. You're just going to be reacting to it. So even then, you don't have to really worry about it if you're in the now. You just have to be present with yourself and get through the thing. Um, and I know that's not something that might be long term difficulties or things like that, but a car accident or an argument at a store, whatever the fact might be, most of the time it's something that's going to be done with pretty quick, and you won't have time to even think about it until after you're done reacting to it. So that's amazing. And I'll offer something too. Treb said a long time ago about being in the now. He said, when you're in the past or when you're in the now, you're whole, right? You're a gallon of liquid consciousness. And when you focus on why you are the way you are, because the past did this to you and made you into this, or oh my God, like you said, the patterns of the past, then you're throwing a quarter gallon of consciousness into the past. And then you're worried about, what am I going to do next? What am I doing tomorrow? How will I work next week? What's coming up next year? You're throwing a quarter of gallon of consciousness over into the future. And then when you're not being present, then you're often imbalanced or nervous or upset, angry, anxious. Then you're throwing a quarter of gallon of consciousness into the air. What are you left with? You're left with 25% of yourself. That's not enough to manifest or be happy or do the things you need to do either.
Hey, that's I believe that 100% because wherever attention goes, energy flows. And whatever you're paying attention to, you're literally spending energy. And so when you're thinking about the past, that's where some of your energy is. When you're thinking about the future, some of your energy is here. One thing that I learned from Esther Hicks is that there's only one now moment, and you can only create from the now moment. You can't create from the past. You can't create from the future. You can only create from the now moment. And even when you're reminiscing about the past, you're still doing it from the now moment because the past doesn't exist. It's a bunch of memories, a bunch of things that happen, but they don't exist. It's literally just in your mind. And the future is a bunch of probabilities that haven't happened yet. So the only thing that really is in existence is that now moment. But I realized because of my anxiety, I'm always thinking about the past or the future. I'm not really maximizing my energy. My energy is very loose and it's going every which direction. And it stops my manifestation power. It actually stops a lot of my creation power because I can only create from the now moment. And so what I'm learning to do is just meditate and actually calm and clear myself first. And then once I'm neutral in that neutral space, then go and start visualizing and start creating what I want from a neutral space. For the most part, I usually like meditate and go straight into the visualizations and whatever, but I realize that I'm still hyped up. I still have all the emotions and the denseness of the world. So I gotta have to kind of be in the moment and settle all that down and then start to create from the now moment.
Well, absolutely. It's a very important part too of the whole spiritual thing. And I know there's so many things. I love how you said too, as you're learning about manifestation, you just thought it was this one frequency, and if you matched it, then you would be there. You'd be the nonstop manifestation guy. And it reminded reminded me of the skit that I saw on Instagram. I was going through videos, and there it was, um, this guy who's talking about the law of attraction in a comedic way. I'm going to post the link in chat, guys. I want you, if nothing more that you take away from any words that I say tonight, just remember I put this link in here and watch it at a later time. It's less than a minute long, and it'll give you the laugh that you need. But this is our community. This is a lot of our community is like, this is how we manifest. So it's kind of comical. Maybe when I'm ranting off for a minute or something, you can watch it too if you haven't seen it yet. But it's funny. Um, so take us to where you are now with your spiritual development. You said you're trying to stay in the now. You've been doing a lot of research and looking for your own gifts. And how does one look for their own gifts? How have you been going about it?
Oh man, I would say not very well. Um, like after that business, I was super passionate about it. It's weird. Like I remember when people were talking about CEOs and successful people, and they would be working like 18-hour days. And I'm like, oh, that's impossible. Like, how are they not tired? And I experienced it. I was looking for financial freedom with this company. We thought like a 3 to 5 year plan, and we'd be able to retire and everything. So I was like, if I just grind, 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 like doesn't matter how hard I work, I'll have financial freedom. I have all the time in the world in 3 to 5 years. Like, what is that when I'm only 20 years old? At the time, and so that passion drove me. When I expanded to South Africa, we were in completely different time zones, so my calls with them sometimes would be 2, 3 in the morning, and then I would have to sleep for a little bit, and then have to get on the calls with my American team. Like 8, 9 in the morning, and but the thing is, I loved it. It was weird that I mean, this went on for years. This energy of just passion. I was so passionate because I felt like all my dreams were at the other side of this work. And so I just had unlimited energy. Ever since that business went down a little bit it wasn't the same and I got out of it, there's nothing that I felt as passionate about. So I've really struggled. I've struggled. I think I got out of the business around 2015. So it's been a long, long time. And people ask me all the time, like, hey, what are you passionate about? And I don't know. So, lately I've really trying to be introspective and just figure out what do I like? What do I like to do? What do I'm recently single. I was in a relationship for 3.5 years. And because of my childhood, not having any friends and being shunned and the abuse, I when I moved out to the suburbs and got friends, I ended up being like so grateful to them even now, because of my self-worth was really low. I'm like, why would you want to be friends with somebody like me? Because for the first 12 years of my life, nobody wanted to. So I become very clingy and very attached. I have very bad attachment issues. So I've been pretty attached to my ex for 3.5 years, and we broke up. It's been about 4 months. So I'm really trying now to figure out like what do I like to do? Like who am I as a person myself? And also I'm trying to figure out what's my passions so I can create my future. One of the things that I was listening to with Joe Dispenza is that like a lot of people, especially me, are moving through life without a plan. Like when people ask me like, what's your 5 year plan? I just don't know. But Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza, he says like when people say like I can't predict the future, they're worried about predicting the future. And he says, don't predict the future, create the future. Like what do you want? Like what does that look like? But I really have to kind of write it down. And so I know exactly like a clear vision. He says a clear vision with elevated emotion. That's the key to manifestation. But it's something that I have to see the same way that like I see my anxieties and see all that in the future, and that's almost like negative creation. It's negative law of attraction. I'm fearing something, but I'm focused on it, and I'm focused on it with a heightened emotion of fear. So I have to do that exact same thing on the opposite thing. So even I need to kind of write down like that clear vision and the things that I like to do. So like even when life is going really, really bad, I have to picture that vision and then get lost in that vision. And then the current reality won't really matter anymore because you're so addicted to that vision. And that's what I had with that company, Vima. It really did like I was so convinced that this was the way and that I would, be set in 3 to 5 years and then I could set up all my friends and my family and my everybody in my immediate life would have no worries. I was so convinced that that was the way that there's nothing that was stopping me from going as hard as I could with that business. There's nothing. And in every setback in that business, it didn't matter. I was happy because I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I have a setback where the business isn't making as much revenues and it's looking really, really bad. But I wouldn't be worried. I'm like, all right, well, this is a 25 chapter book, and I'm just in chapter 12. I'm in chapter 13. This is just a setback. And then, in chapter 14, it's the comeback, the come up, because I know like the end result is inevitable for me. So I guess to answer your question, I really don't know what my passions or stuff, because I guess I feel like if I don't feel the same passion that I felt for that business for anything else, then it's not what I need to be doing.
Yeah, that's a rough one. When you have a level of excitement in your life that's at a peak from all of the other things, and that it keeps slipping further and further away from you. I know that feeling, and it's a rough one. When it came to my channeling, actually, 2015, 2014, 2016, those were the years I was really doing a lot of things live and in person. 2016, 20. So yeah, I get that. And then, with the pandemic and us having a baby, that feeling of setback was rough. But what I've learned then, the other joys that I had in my life that weren't related to that joy, I found more joy in it, like with a baby. Uh, Putting my time and energy into caring for her and getting her the most that I can for her has been amazing. But also, I have tried to learn to manage that thought process, because everything in life is different. It comes in linear time and secular time, and sometimes we have to go through the cycles, and sometimes we have to go straight in the line. And knowing that, it's helped me manage that expectation. Like, hey, what's in front of me? What can I do now to get back to the things I enjoy doing, or put more focus on this thing, or whatever the feeling is. So I understand that completely. And I think that's one thing too. I hear a lot of people who say a lot of the same things that you're saying about it. That life's just in a place right now where I don't know what to be excited about or how to be excited. And Treb and Aridif, would always tell them, hey, there's levels of excitement that are possible. And if you have nothing that you're very excited about, what are you mostly excited about? Or what are you somewhat excited about? And if you get down to the point where you're just like, what is more interesting than the rest? That's okay too. Put your energy into that. Because if we're not putting energy into something, then we're just going to put energy into nothing. And if we put energy into nothing, then the things that pop up, like fear or anxiety or concern or worry for what's next, those are the things that rule the day. And it
Wow.
makes it a little, yeah, it makes it a little easier to do. This is why in the last few years, with more time being focused on working with the baby, then, I picked up video games for like an hour or two in the day if I could make it. Sometimes I can't make any time. Sometimes I make it happen. It's not something that I super duper love or are hugely excited about, but it's more exciting than the other things that I could be doing at that time. And it's actually developed into a thing. I made a lot of friends from it. I put a lot of creative energy into it, and I help other people when they're doing the thing that they love, which is gaming. So it's made it to be where I'm not just hyper focused on, oh God, what's coming next that might be hard or difficult, or those things either, because I think the last 3 years has been rough for everybody. And I know everyone's that's kind of why this whole thing with the pandemic and the breakdown of social connection with people, and the split in governments, and all these different weird things that have only really existed in our lifetime for the last 3 or 4 years. I think that's why it came. It had to break down the parts that we don't want and rebuild the parts we do. So that's where I think we all should be at the best we can, building communities for the companionship and connection part of it, because that's what fourth density do, and also doing the things we can do to the best of our ability with the most excitement in it that we can, whether it's just a tiny bit more exciting than all the boring things around it, or if you're really super passionate. I think it all works the same, to an extent.
Yeah, for sure. I like what you said that if you're not putting your energy into anything, then the things that you will put it in is your anxieties and the habits, the bad habits that come up. I like that a lot. It actually resonates with me. Another thing that you said, Bashar actually had said, Derek, he talked about follow your highest excitement and follow your. He says that a lot, and I guess I remember me and a bunch of people. I guess we all took it as like, all right, well, when you feel super excited and super passionate about something, then follow that, follow that, follow that, and just wait until that. And I think somebody asked him a question one time about same thing, not being passionate about anything, and I think he said the same thing that you and Treb said, is that, well, find the thing that you're most excited about in the moment. It doesn't have to be like crazy excitement, but the most excited out of anything else, and then follow that path. And then when you follow that and exhaust that as far as you can, then find the next thing and then exhaust that. And then it will eventually lead you to the path that you are going to go to. You know, to be honest with you, the Vima path, like I when it first came across my table, my younger brother brought it to me. I didn't really it wasn't anything I was crazy passionate about now that I think about it. But as I got into it and got into the culture and then learned about this stuff, it's when I got passionate. So I guess to answer my question and thinking about it, sometimes you don't know your passions. You kind of have to go out there and try a bunch of different stuff. And as you try more things, you kind of learn more about yourself and kind of learn more about what you like. Unfortunately for me, I'm kind of live a little sheltered life and I don't like change too much, so I don't really go out there and put myself out there and try new stuff. That's probably why I don't really know myself as much as I should for everybody else. But yeah, I think that's a good thing is to just go out there and try new things and see where your passions are and just follow your excitement that way.
I love that. It's in alignment, and that's crazy. I didn't know Daryl and Bashar had said that too. That's amazing. I always love when things line up like that. One thing Treb said that was actually pretty profound, even though it sounded dumb when you first heard it, was an answer to a person who said, "I have zero things to be passionate about. I hate everything about my life." Pretty intense, right? He said, write down a list of all the things you ever at one time thought that you wanted to explore or know more about or investigate a little bit, no matter how little or big they are. Just write them down and put them on a piece of paper and rip the paper up, one answer per sheet, and throw it in a bowl. And then when you wake up in the morning, open the bowl and take one out. And whatever you do that day, just put all your extra time and energy into that. And the next day, take the next one out. If you're still excited about the first one you pulled, then just keep going until it's done. And then the next day, pull another one, and on and on. It gives you exposure to the possibility, because I think in our culture right now, we have so much stimulation and so much of everything that it's hard to know what we should be putting our energy into or what we should focus our excitement on. I mean, literally, you can go to TikTok now and watch 1 minute videos about everything and literally learn these little tidbits. And when you consume information like that, you begin to get a little numb to what, oh, everything's kind of interesting. You know what I mean? And it's a repetitive cycle. So yeah, I think exposing yourself to as much as you can, that's really good advice, brother. I love that. Um, well, well, first of all, you said you're single and you're a handsome guy. You're a really kind-hearted guy. Are you looking into finding a relationship? Are you settling in to just kind of do your work and then figure it out?
Probably the latter. So I think, my last relationship was my best relationship and it was a great relationship. But as the relationship kind of went through, I started to realize like my flaws. It was kind of crazy that like I guess how arrogant I thought. Like I was like, oh, my parents have a very long relationship. They've been married for like 34 years, I think. So I've seen love and I know what that looks like and a happy home. So I was like, oh, I know what that is. And I thought my way was the right way. My way of communication was the right way. This is the way we need to do things. And I didn't realize how controlling I was being because, I thought I wasn't controlling because I was like, oh, you can go out whenever you wanted to go out and go out with your friends, and I don't really care because I trust you. I always saw controlling on TV as like restricting things, but it was really just controlling with like um, the relationship. And so I think when we broke up, I went to therapy and I kind of saw a lot of my own flaws, like a lot of my controllingness was like just my insecurities to make sure like my significant other was really there for me. I would like think like, oh, they're gonna leave eventually, so I would always be very clingy, um, and a lot of stuff. So once I got out of that and went to therapy and saw my flaws and I saw how not bad I made the relationship, but like how tolerant my partner was to me and how I started a lot of the problems. I really am just trying to learn more about myself and be self-aware and fix those problems. Whether I get back with my ex or if I find somebody new, the thing is if I stay at the same vibration that I'm at, and I stay at the same level and consciousness that I'm at, I'm just going to attract the same person in a different body. Different souls, but the same body. I mean, different bodies, but same people who are emotionally unavailable, and that's kind of what I attract because I'm a clingy person. I attract an emotionally unavailable person, so I'm chasing that person while they're running away from me because they don't like to be chased because they feel smothered. So it's this crazy dynamic. And, whether it's my ex or anybody else I talk to, I keep attracting the same people. So, like, it's not about me going out there and trying to find somebody, especially because my ex was everything I wanted anyway. It was more about compatibility between us two. I'm more of an extrovert, she's more of an introvert and stuff. So, there's a lot of compatibility that we don't, but I'm not as patient as she was. So yeah, I think that it's about me meditating, working on myself, getting my self-esteem up, and working on my flaws. And then once I'm a better person, I'll be able to attract a person that's more compatible with me, a person that's emotionally available, a person who knows how to express their emotions and their feelings, and a person that knows how to like comfort me. I can be an emotional person, very excited, but also I can be very, very sad. I kind of lean on my partner a lot, and that's also another thing too. You can't really dump all your problems on your partner. That's really not fair. That's another issue that I had that I didn't realize. You kind of have to have your own self-regulation practices, your own meditation practices. It's not really fair to look at somebody else and say, make me happy. Like I'm unhappy, like help me be happy, make me be happy.
Mm.
So it's very unfair and it's very hard for another person to do that. So what I want to do is I want to make myself happy by myself, figuring out what I like to do, and build the life. So and then attract somebody who's happy, and then we're super happy. So not somebody to complete me because right now I'm at 50%. Anybody I go out and date, any dating service I get on, the law of attraction, I'm just going to attract somebody who's emotionally unavailable. And so as I work on myself and become 100% of me and find somebody else who's whole and 100% of them, and that's kind of where my goal is. But it really all starts with me. It's really not even about anybody else outside of myself.
That's very true, and I'm glad that you're able to see that. A lot of people don't. A lot of people think, well, I'm lonely, therefore I should be with someone else. That's a disaster, a recipe for disaster. It's funny you describe yourself too as an extrovert because as introspective as you are, I always thought you were just a social introvert personality type, because I know you like to communicate with people and share with people. But I always considered myself an introvert, and I'm very people happy and people connected. But I also do most of my processing internally. And that's why I think that I'm an introvert versus an extrovert, which a lot of people think I am an extrovert. But yeah, it's very interesting to hear you describe that. I think that's very.
Let me stop you. Hold your thought though, because I don't want to take you off your thought. But no, I actually think that's a more accurate depiction of me. I consider myself an extrovert because I'm like a triple Leo. I'm outgoing, and people talk about I can be loud and boisterous, life of a party. I can be that when I know everybody at the party, and like people like I won most popular superlative in high school, so like I have a big social group. So like that's kind of why I would say I'm an extrovert. But at the same time, like when I'm at a party that I don't know people or whatever, my energy is low. I'm actually am very introverted. And because I'm so emotional, I deal in the world of emotions. Like I think in emotions. I deal like for the longest, my whole life, people tell me I have female tendencies because I'm so emotional. So I'm just very sensitive. So I actually like what you said. I probably am like a introverted outrovert, but I'm probably more introverted than extroverted, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah. I think for at least that's how I've always discerned it. Was the how you process things. Are you bouncing it off someone, or are you taking it inside? Do you have others answer for you, or do you answer for yourself, or not necessarily answer for you, but help to answer the question, or inside? But the introvert comes at a price of carrying the weight of many things that you don't always need to. Um, at least that's been my thing, and I know some of that's the old male archetype, from like my dad's generation, that rubbed off on me, taking things on that I shouldn't need to take on for myself, other people's problems, etc. So yeah, it's definitely there. It's funny you said you're triple Leo. That makes sense totally because you have that Leo vibe. But someone asked what your ascending sign was, so you want to drop a little astrology on us with your chart?
Yeah, man, I'd have to find it though. It's somewhere in here. It's in my I I, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Do you know which
Okay.
signs your Leo is in by chance, or is it the
I'm
thing that you
looking
had to
for it.
find?
Yeah, no, it's the whole chart that I know I have it saved in here somewhere. I just don't know where it is right now, and
Oh,
that's
that's
the
all right.
unfortunate. Yeah,
It's
I
all right.
don't know what the ascending sign is actually, but I just know that the it was the sun sign, the moon, I think the rising. I remember when every I've had like you still hear me?
Yep,
Okay.
I can still hear you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had like three or four people, astrologists, like do my chart. That's how I even knew. I don't really know much about astrology. I would love to know more because when somebody who knows about astrology explains it, it's always to a T. And when I send the charts of my friends to people, they always describe them perfectly to where I learn more about that person. Like, oh, I didn't know that. That's how I started. It was through the charts that I realized that people don't think like me. And like I would get upset with people because I'm like, well, they know this and they're doing this on purpose. And then I find out that people have their own insecurities coming from certain houses and stuff. So I wish I was more efficient at astrology, but it's funny every time I think I've had three or four people do my chart over the last 6 years, and they all get excited when they see I'm a triple Leo and they tell me how rare it is. It's very
Real
weird.
that's amazing. I don't know if you ever saw on my YouTube channel, I had my favorite astrologer, Rick the astrologer, who's on YouTube a lot, and it's spelled RIK. I had him do a chart for me and Kalina, and I shared mine publicly because it was so amazingly accurate and perfect. It's crazy how that works. A lot of the things like law of attraction would say, nothing external will really matter to you in that way, to kind of, but it does set you up for the energies. And, with Treb and Aridif always sharing about how the consciousness of each planet works and how they interact with each other, then that makes sense too. So, if you haven't had a chance to check out my chart, you should see that one. It's a good one.
Oh, I would love to check out your chart, and I would love for people to explain them. I mean, I'm so amazed when people look at charts and can
Lost your audio, but it might just be an internet waiver. I'm not sure if others can
No, no,
hear
no.
you.
I think,
Okay, there you
yeah,
are.
yeah. I think I closed out of the window looking for that chart, but no, I'm amazed that like they can tell. Like I'll send them my best friend's chart, and I've known my best friend for like 16 years, and I was like, damn, that part, he is like that, but that's the reason why he's like this. Like, okay, I get it. Um, speaking of the person who asked that question, I found my chart actually. I just hope the audio doesn't come out. But what was the question?
They
I
asked what
think it was.
your ascending sign or rising sign would be.
Uh, The ascendant is Leo. The sun is Leo. The moon is Leo. The ascendant is Leo. The rising, I'm not really sure because the rest of these are planets.
I think that's the same as ascending. Rising and ascending, I think, are the same, or the sun sign. I don't know
Yeah,
much about it either, as far as it is, but I enjoy
that's,
hearing people who know about it. Yeah.
there's an ASC node, so I would assume that's an ascending node, and that's
Yep.
Capricorn.
Ah, fellow Capricorn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just uh, just in case if anybody's interested, I'll read down the list really quickly if you still hear me. But Sun
Yep.
is Leo, Moon is Leo, Mercury is in Virgo, Venus is in Virgo, Mars is in Virgo, Jupiter in Leo, Saturn in Aquarius, Uranus in Capricorn, Neptune in Capricorn, Pluto in Scorpio, Lilith in Capricorn, and the ascendant node is in Capricorn.
Holy
Mm,
shit. A lot of
yeah.
Capricorn too. No wonder we get along so well. Capricorns tend to get
Wow. Yeah,
along
you're
with
right.
Capricorns. I'm a, sun sign Capricorn, and so is Kalina. Our birthdays are like 3 days apart.
Wow. Yeah, there is a lot of Capricorn in here. I didn't even realize that. And I'm a sun, obviously being a Leo, sun sign in August. Love the warm weather. This cold weather is killing me right now.
Cool. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I would rather do cold than hot, but I like medium weather.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, man. I don't know if you saw on Facebook. I said this isn't winter anymore. This is harassment. I really feel that way. I'm being harassed every morning that I come out here.
No doubt. And I'm going to put my chart in the chat room too. The video where Rick, the astrologer, did my chart reading for anyone who is interested, and you might want to check that out too. If you,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you remind me, I'll send you the 2 links that I put in the chat too, so you don't have to dig for them.
Yes, sir. That would be awesome.
Yeah, so we're probably about 5 to 7 minutes around the lightning round, which is just some personal questions that are kind of getting to know you. But I think this whole thing has been getting to know you for a lot of people who might not be aware of who you are or might not have bumped into in their corner of the internet, which is amazing. So so can you share what kind, I know you do a lot of book reading and a lot of literature working. What are the things you're kind of looking at now in our community that's really excited you or motivated you to kind of explore? I know you said the being in the now moment is one of them. What else are you checking out?
Yeah, being in that moment is kind of just what I actually read it years ago. But I kind of want to go back to it and revisit it now with the knowledge that I have now. But the main thing that I'm really excited about is right now I'm reading Dr. Michael Newton's book. Journey of Souls was the first book. I'm on the second book, Destiny of Souls. He's basically a past life regressionist, and but what he does in this book is life in between life, past life regressionist. So he was, regressing people for years, decades, years and years. And I don't know if it was a mistake or what, but he had regressed somebody to a past life right before their death scene. And I guess he was trying to pull them out of it for their death scene, but they ended up going through their death. And I guess he thought that it would be over or it would go into their next life, but it didn't. And so basically, they were hypnotized and he was regressing them, and they go straight into whatever journey they go to right after their death sentence. And that was just so fascinating to me. I've been reading. There's many cases. So he takes his book is about him taking, I think, like the top 60 cases that are he has thousands and thousands and thousands of cases that he's done, but the top 60 cases that were similar, that have said similar things and concepts that he could touch on. And it's uh straight dictation, what he's asking the regressionist to what they're saying back to him. So they're the actual sessions. And I just thought that was fascinating. Many there's these things are so consistent. I also study a lot of near-death experiences, for a lot of interviews with people doing that, and their experiences are the exact same. And that's the thing. Like I've listened to, man, I'm up there. I would say like 70, 80. I'm up there with stories, and they're so consistent. And so when Michael Newton regresses these people, he regresses everybody back to their last past life, most relevant past life, to their death scene, then walks them through their death scene. Usually they see a light, their spirit guides come down, they see loved ones, they go, and he just has a whole literature of it, like cluster of spirit guides, how spirit guides help you, what are people here for. But the main thing that's fascinating is that as they go through this, there's a council, people go through their life review, the council starts talking about, what they missed and stuff. It just opened my eyes to like what the other side is, because everybody's always curious of what happens when you die. From what I've seen, there's nobody judging you, which was the best part. From what I saw, all the judgment were coming from people judging themselves for what they didn't do as well, or not being loving as much. The main fascinating thing is, as you go through this process, you get to the process where the soul is getting ready for the current life. The person, that is in the session with Dr. Michael Newton, being regressed, getting to that life, and where that soul basically you get to realize why you chose this life, and the reasons are amazing. Like, why did I choose not having a dad, or why did I choose being handicapped, or why would I have this limitation, or why would I be in poverty and poor? Like, there's reasons for all of these things. And when you see it from that perspective, it's not like a punishment anymore. It actually is, it shows you growth, and it actually shows you the soul growth and what they're here to learn. And that inspires me, and something that I want to do. I haven't gotten a chance to do it myself. I would love to do it because I'm looking for my life purpose. I'm 31 years old. I don't want, I feel like I'm wasting time. I just want to know what it is so I can get ready for it. I don't want to die and then be like, wow, I didn't accomplish what I came down here to accomplish. So that right now is what I'm really interested in. I feel like that's the answers to everything, like for personally, for people's soul personally, for to wonder why they're here. It also talks about like people's relationship, like, oh, like, why do I have such an adversarial relationship with my sister-in-law? Well, your sister-in-law was your mother in a past life. It's the same soul, but you guys are going through different dynamics. But even your adversaries are sometimes here to show you something or to help you through something. But it explains that you get to see who the soul part of people are on that side, instead of just the human part. So you can kind of see why we're all here. I love, because I'm a codependent, you know, clingy person. I love the concept of soul groups. So like in the book, it talks about your soul groups. They don't all incarnate with you every lifetime, but a lot of them do. And so it's like your soulmates. I'm not talking like romantic soulmates. Soulmates can be, it could be a dog, it could be your dad, it could be your best friend. I feel like soulmate relationships come in many different relationships, not just romantic relationships, but I feel like those soulmates are people who are from your soul group. Souls that are a similar level to you in terms of learning, and learning similar lessons. So you guys kind of move through the progression together. And I just love the concept that like it's like we're not done when we die here. Like, we're still learning. There's still classes over there. There's still things to learn over there. There's things like there's a chapter that talks about people, souls that want to become spirit guides after they've lived a bunch of lives, human lives here, how they learn to become spirit guides, and how they have to work at it, and how they're lower level spirit guides, but how they get better with working through humans. And there's a whole process of how to send information to humans. Like, it's a spirit guide's job to get through to the human any way that they can. And there's different methods, and different spirit guides have different methods and learn different things on how to do that. So yeah, all of that is fascinating to me right now, that I'm
So
learning.
that Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say it's amazing because I knew when you first started talking about it, the reason why you were interested in that is because you had to scratch that curiosity part of you. That's the one thing that plagues so many humans in life. What's going to happen after we're done here? How's it going to work when we're done? Uh, I think a lot of time religions are built to answer that question alone. And this gives us good insight. And QHHT, Spirit of the Trees, is about to start her training with QHHT. I know another QHHT practitioner. He's the guy who's helped me redesign the website. He helped me make the poster that's got your face on it. He's the one who's helping me with the courses all around. He's helped rebrand in the last year to make the everything look better and more clean. And his name's John Craig, and he is a QHHT certified regressionist. So his work is great. I'll put you in touch with him if you
Oh,
want.
real quick, what does QHT mean?
QHT is the quantum healing technique. It was created by Dolores Cannon, who was a extremely
Oh,
notable regressionist in our field, who passed
yeah,
away a few years ago.
yeah. I've watched a bunch of her videos. Keep going.
Yeah, that's the practice that she created, and she taught it for many years, and he was one of the people who learned it from her. Um,
Wow, I never even heard of that from her. What's the premise of it? Like, what does it do?
it's basically teaching you how to connect to the like a super subconscious of yourself, so that you can go through and regress another person. So that's what he does,
Wow.
is like regression. It's like a regression, but it's more than a regression. It's also the ability to connect to higher self, and he basically guides you through the journey of how you can communicate with these parts of you and see these parts of you and connect with parts of you too.
And you know this guy?
Yeah, yeah, good friends with him.
Oh man, I would be so grateful if you get me in touch with him. I would be so grateful.
Yeah, I'll put you in touch with him, and you could check that out and see. He's got a lot of videos that he put up highlights from people on too. I'll send you all this stuff. Just remind me when we're done
Yes,
here.
sir.
We're gonna get at that time now because we're actually past it by a little bit, and I know you've got early work tomorrow. So let's pound out this beautiful lightning round game. I'm gonna ask you 5, 6 benevolent questions. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to. If you can't answer because you don't have, like a favorite of something or whatever the question entails, you can let me know. We can pass it. And if you want to give more than one answer, you can do that too. It's all free and free will. So we're going to start off. What is your favorite color?
Blue. Love it. Love
Yes.
blue.
And you look good in it too on the picture.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's actually kind of part of the reason why I showed it.
Yeah, I love blue too. Blue's my second favorite right behind purple. So it's a beautiful one. Um, what is your favorite food?
Burgers. I tend to eat them every single day. I tend to eat a burger a day.
Yeah, if you know how to make them, they're a beautiful thing. What is your favorite song and or band?
Ooh, it's funny. I listened to a couple of your other interviews and I heard this question and I was like, damn, I really need to figure this out. It changes so frequently. But look, we'll talk about the now moment. Right now, I would probably say MGK. MGK right now, I'm really rocking with him. He's not really a band though, but
Well, that's
favorite
all right.
artist.
Yeah, artist, band, same thing. And I always say band because my answer involves a band.
Yeah. No, I do like some bands too though.
What is your favorite animal?
Mm, Lion by far, just because I'm a Leo. I'm infatuated with lions.
Lions are one of the most beautiful. I used to have posters of tigers and lions and all over my
Bears, oh
room when I
my.
was a kid. No, dragons. We're close enough, right?
Right.
um, When you think of every place in nature that you ever were, that you just love the look of it and the feel of it, what's that favorite place in the world that you've been that you just loved it because of the nature?
Oh man, to be honest with you, I wish I resonated with nature more. I actually feel like it's part of the spiritual community that I feel like not a part of because everybody talks about how one with nature they feel, and I don't really feel that much. So I would probably say when my friend went fishing for his birthday, I went with him and he brought me to like his favorite trail in the woods and stuff, and it was peaceful. I would say a golf course. I've gone golfing twice. I wouldn't really say that's nature, but it's so peaceful, like the grass and the woods
Yeah,
around you. Very peaceful.
yeah, that's the feeling of it, just the peacefulness and quiet and relaxation.
Tranquility. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're still living in a town, I know us as town folks don't get that a lot.
No, not at all.
So that's beautiful. Last question. What is your favorite childhood memory?
Ooh.
Know you had some rough times there, and I know that this actually has caused some an emotional stress in a couple people's life who also had some bad childhood stuff. So if it's not a comfortable place to answer, by all means, please don't feel bad about passing.
No, 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 no. It's weird. Like I don't feel like emotional first. It's just a lot of it's like blank. I actually remember a lot of the bad times. I don't know. Can we talk about drugs on the stream? I'm not sure. I don't really want
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
into
Talk
sensitive.
about whatever you want. We're uncensored as we can be with YouTube. So
I I
wonderful.
re I wouldn't say like I was a child. I would say I was think 21 or
Yeah,
22.
young
But
adult.
I,
That's good.
yeah, young adult, but I would say that I took Molly with my two younger brothers and my four best friends in an apartment. One time, me and my brother's apartment, and I guess we just tripped and just
You were
just
rolling,
sat
huh?
there. Yeah, but to be honest with you, man, it is that I still consider it. We did nothing. Like we weren't at a concert or anything. We just sat in the apartment and talked and whatever. And they're introspective, spiritual people, so we had like spiritual conversations. And I would say like top. I always say like top three moment of my life because I don't want to exaggerate it and put it at number one. But like I don't really have another number one when I think
Yeah.
about it. Mainly, I'll tell you this quick story. Like when it hit me, it's the only time I did it. I did it. The rest of my friends, they've done it before, so they were prepping me. And everybody knows about the crash that happened. So I was on my way. We were all going to Walmart, and I was going to buy the James Bond 3 set because I was like, tomorrow when I crash, I'm going to watch all three movies. And I had taken the Molly in the car, and I'm sitting in line, and I'm about to check out, and it hit me. It took like 20 minutes, and it hit me and I'm literally like standing in line and about to hand the DVD to the cashier, and this warmth just explodes from my chest and it starts filling my body. And I just feel warm and I just feel love and ecstasy. But I just felt so much love. And I just looked around. I remember just audibly saying, wow, wow, wow. And then the cashier was like looking at me like she's like, are you okay? And I said, I love you. Like I just love and I'm telling you, Rob, like, and it's so crazy because, like, I know, like, on TV, you see these, you're like, oh, these people are just high and whatever. But, like, I felt this universal love that I've never felt. And I was like, honestly, like, there would be no wars. And from that perspective, and this actually changed my perspective, actually, real quick. From that perspective, there were no problems. The same problems were still existent 30 minutes prior. But when I felt that way, they did not matter. And that's when I finally realized that circumstances don't matter. State of being matters. It matters how I feel on the inside. And if I'm feeling good on the inside, it does not matter about my outside world or my outside circumstances whatsoever. And even though I haven't done it since that day, that feeling stays with me. That feeling of love and gratitude stays with me. I've never done it organically, but I know it exists because I felt it, and that's why I always take away from that experience.
Oh, that see that hits home because the knowledge that it exists is something that's huge. A lot of people don't know that you can love that much. Treb was asked one time, why do you keep going to that moon? Because there's a moon around this planet that they go to, and they just sit above the atmosphere with their ships, and they send love to the second density beings like the plants and animals. And they said, why do you do that, Treb? What do you get out of it? What do they get out of it? And he said, by lifting and elevating the sensation of love around them, they know that it exists, that there's something more than them vibrationally, in a sense of connectedness that exists. And that reminded me of that when you said that. That's amazing. Well, before we jump off for the night, brother, I want to thank you for coming on. I know that this is
My
not
pleasure.
something you do. You don't just usually jump on to be interviewed by people, and that this is a little different for you, but you did amazing. We had a great, great chat tonight.
Dude, it's been incredible. It's
Oh,
been
well,
incredible time.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Everyone else enjoyed it. All the people listening in the chat room enjoyed it. And thank you for being you, brother. You do it unapologetically, and I'm glad that you share who you are with others. And I'm grateful that I've been able to meet you and connect with you and share those moments with you too, brother. I also want to give you an opportunity before we jump off tonight to let people know if they're interested in reaching out to you and saying hi or talking spiritual stuff online with you or whatever. How do people get a hold of you if they want to say hi?
Yeah, so I really am not on social. The only two social medias I have are basically Facebook and Instagram. So you guys can contact me. Facebook, it's just Derrick Rose, spelled how it is here, Derrick. Rose, like the flower, Rose. You might try to look at this picture to try to find me because there's a famous basketball player who spells his name the exact same way as mine. So it might be a little hard for you to find me there. Instagram, it is Rose1325. So that's Rozay 1325. If you guys want to shoot me a message and just converse and talk, I'm definitely open to anything.
Well, that's amazing. We do have both those links down in the description. If you heard us tonight live or listening back at any later time from either the Matrix Minds, the ET Whisperer YouTube, or the Enlightenment Evolution Hour Facebook page, then you have access to those links. Just go down in the description and check them out. Reach out to Derrick. Thanks again, brother, for coming. I appreciate it very much. And everybody's really stoked on our chat. So thanks again, brother.
Dude, my pleasure, man. Have a great night, Rob.
You too, brother. And I want to tell all you guys next week we'll be here. We're going to have a special guest. I'm pretty sure that we've got this lined up for next week. And I'm going to look into this real quick as we're talking and make sure. I'm going to check to see if I did get a yes or no on that one. Ba, 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 ba. But Haley has made a video that I shared on my channel where Treb was a special guest. She makes a fictional story on her YouTube channel that's really amazing. And she's an amazing lady. And I think she's going to be on this coming week. If not, we will definitely have her on within the next couple of weeks. And we're going to have some more guests that will be announced. And I want to thank Jessica for the super sticker. Thank you so much for your donations, guys. We really appreciate it. All of our donations go to Matthew, too, over at the Matrix Minds, because he is 100 bajillion percent funded by listeners and to keep open all the areas that he puts our shows on. Apple and the podcast and all the ones that you have to pay for. That's how he does it. So we're going to send that over to him. Thank you so much, Jessica. We appreciate that. And we appreciate all of you guys being here. Thank you for being active in the chat, guys. Thank you for being part of the show. I really am grateful for you guys. And it's amazing how many roses we've had. Last week we had a rose. Our friend Satya Rose is amazing. And she had a show with us several months ago. I'll find the link to that. So this is the third rose we had tonight, and we've got a couple coming in the future too. I'm sure we'll have more than a couple in the future, but keep your eyes peeled, guys. We'll announce the next week link when we have it. and we will see too if it is Haley or not. And if it's not, she'll be on soon enough, guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. It means a lot that you guys hang out with us and do these chats with us. It's really exciting when you can make it live as you participate in the chat, because it gives everyone else an opportunity to have a community here. Our community matters, and the more we put into it, the more we get back from it. Love you guys so much. We'll see you next week on the other side. Bye, guys.